Goosebumps Revenge of the Living Dummy, chapters 19 through 22. Chapter 19. The wooden fingers tightened around my wrist, tighter, until I wanted to scream. Pain shot up my arm. "Let go of me!" I cried. The dummy lowered his face over me until our noses nearly touched. "Thank you, slave," he rasped. "You called out the words to wake me up." "No," I gasped. "I didn't mean to. He snickered an ugly laugh from deep in his throat. "You're my slave now, Brittany. You'll do whatever I say." "Why should I?" I choked out, struggling to pull my wrist free. "My mom and dad will—" "Go ahead, tell your parents," he said. He snickered again. "Go ahead, I'd like that. Know what they'll think? They'll think you've gone crazy. They won't believe a word. They'll take you to a doctor." He released my wrist. His painted grin appeared to grow wider. "Are you ready for your first task?" No," I stammered. "Go away. You can't force me to do anything." He uttered a low growl and straightened up. Then he raised both fists in front of me. "I can hurt you, Brittany," he snarled. "I'm not playing games. Get up and get dressed." "Why? What do you want?" I stammered. "You're gonna take a short trip," Slappy said. "Back to that graveyard. I heard that little freak Ethan talking about the mind stealer you buried. I want it. I need it." He gave me a hard shove with both wooden hands. "Go get it, Brittany. Dig it up and bring it to me." I rolled out of bed and landed on my feet. My heart thudded in my chest, but I suddenly felt more angry than afraid. No way I was going to take orders from a wooden dummy. "Get out of my face!" I shouted. I lowered my shoulder and grabbed Slappy around the waist. My plan was to lift him off the floor and heave him out of my room. "Ooh!" I uttered a groan as I strained to pull him up. He wouldn't budge. "Nice try, Britt," he said. "Here, hit me in the stomach. Hit me as hard as you can." He stuck out his skinny stomach and giggled. I took a step back. I tried to remember the 6 ancient words to put him to sleep forever. "Think, Brittany, think," I told myself. It was useless. I couldn't remember them. Maybe this was more evil than I could handle, but I wasn't going back to that graveyard. I wasn't going to be a slave. No way. I crossed my arms in front of me. "I'm not going back to that graveyard," I said slowly, through gritted teeth. He froze there and stared at me for the longest time. Long enough for chill after chill to shiver my body. "No problem," he whispered finally. "Fine with me, Britt. I'll go get it. But when I have that doll, your mind will be the first to be sucked dry. Then you'll be a perfect slave, won't you, my dear?" Chapter 20. He spun away from me and started walking out of my room. He walked stiffly, not bending his knees, his shoulders teetering from side to side, like a zombie in a horror movie. Frozen in terror, I couldn't move. Clump, clump, clump. I listened to him thump down the stairs. A few seconds later, I heard the front door close behind him. He's really doing it. He's going to the graveyard to get the doll, I realized. I had to stop him. I bolted into the hall, then stopped. I realized I was in my nightshirt. I lurched back into my room, grabbed jeans and a sweatshirt, pulled on my sneakers, and hurried out of the house. It was a cool, clear night. Thin snakes of black cloud curled over a full moon. My shoes squished over the slippery grass as I ran to the street. It must have rained earlier. Puddles of silver moonlight glowed in the street. I saw Slappy clumping through the puddles. He swung his arms as he stormed up the low hill that led to the graveyard. He kept his back straight and tall, his head straight forward as he staggered up the middle of the road. The cool night air helped wake me up. I started to trot. I didn't want to catch up with him, but I didn't want to lose sight of him either. My heart thumped loudly. In the late night silence, nothing moved. No wind, No cars or voices. The house is all dark, as if Slappy and I were the only two creatures on Earth. Stepping over the silvery puddles, I followed Slappy to the little graveyard. I watched from the other side of the picket fence as he made his way quickly through the rows of crooked gravestones. He stopped at the spot where we buried the Mind Stealer doll and dropped to his knees. My breath caught in my throat. I watched him start to scoop up dirt. His wooden hands made good shovels. The dirt flew up in front of him. I knew I should leap over the fence, drop him, smother him, crush him, do anything to keep him from pulling up that dangerous doll. But my fear held me there against the fence. My legs felt trembly and weak, and I had to force myself to breathe as I watched the hole grow larger and larger under the dummy's shoveling hands. He giggled as he bent over the hole and pulled out the glass case. He whipped his head around once, making sure no one was watching. I ducked behind the fence and held my breath. Had he seen me? No. I raised myself high enough to watch him. He pulled himself quickly to his feet and began brushing dirt off the case with one hand. In the eerie silver moonlight, I could see the doll. I could see its shrunken human head bouncing against the glass bottom as Slappy cleaned the case. And then, Slappy set the case down gently on the ground and began to pull off the lid. I gripped the top of the fence so tightly my hands ached. And suddenly, I heard a voice in my head. My voice. If he gets that doll, he'll wipe your mind clean. And before I even realized what I was doing, I leaped over the fence and tore through the gravestones. I tackled Slappy around the waist. I shoved him hard away from the doll case, and with a burst of strength, I lifted a thrashing, kicking dummy high above my head. "You're dead meat, slave!" he screamed. "You'll be punished for this!" And then it was my turn to scream, as a powerful wave of white light blinded me and wrapped itself around me, trapping me in its beam. Chapter 21. I blinked and blinked again, struggling to fight the light. It divided into two beams of light. Car headlights. My eyes slowly adjusted, and I recognized my parents' car. Dad pushed open the driver's door and slid out. He was in his striped pajamas. "Brittany?" he called, shielding his eyes with one hand. "We saw you leave. We followed you. What are you doing here with Ethan's dummy?" Slappy had gone limp. I still held him above my head. "Why are you burying Ethan's dummy?" Mom called. She stepped out of the car, wrapping her brown robe around her. "Have you gone crazy? Out here in the middle of the night?" "You know how important that dummy is to Ethan," Dad said. "How could you bury it? How could you do such a mean thing?" You don't understand," I gasped. I'm not trying to bury it. I was trying." I let out a frustrated cry. "Oh, I can't explain it to you. You wouldn't understand." "We have eyes, Brittany," Mom said. "We can see the hole you dug. We can see you putting Ethan's dummy into the hole." Dad motioned for Mom to be quiet. "It's okay," he said softly. He climbed over the fence and started walking toward me, a step at a time. "It's okay, Britt. Just stay there, sweetie. Don't move. We'll get you to the doctor first thing in the morning. We'll get you the help you need." "Give Dad the dummy, dear," Mom said, "and come get in the car. We'll take care of you. You know we will." Lying limp in my hands, Slappy giggled. "You're a big loser," he whispered. "Guess we're going home together, slave. I'll come back tomorrow for the doll. Then Slappy wins for good." Chapter 22. I couldn't take that. I couldn't let him win. My anger exploded in a scream that echoed off the granite tombstones. "No!" I knew what I had to do. I jerked Slappy high over my head and with all my strength heaved him head first into the glass case. I heard a deafening crack as the glass split. I saw the case shatter under the dummy's hard wooden head. Slappy uttered a sharp groan as his face slammed into the doll. Yes, yes. The dummy's head smashed against the shriveled green shrunken head. They were nose to nose. I uttered a cry and staggered back as the doll began to glow. The shrunken head glowed with a white light, and the doll began to buzz. Slappy's arms and legs jerked straight out as if struck by lightning. The dummy's body jolted once, twice. Then Slappy collapsed in a lifeless heap on top of the doll case. I waited. Slappy didn't move. The Mind Stealer doll had claimed another victim. I suddenly realized that tears were rolling down my cheeks. My whole body trembled. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself. "Brittany, what's going on?" Dad asked, stepping up beside me. It's okay," I choked out. "Really, it's all over. No more crazy dummy stories. I promise, it's all over." Mom stepped up beside me and put her arm around my waist. "I hope you're telling the truth," she said. "I am," I insisted. "Here." I gathered up the lifeless dummy and handed it to Dad. "Here. Let's take it back to Ethan. Everything will be fine from now on." "Let's get you back home," Mom said. She started to guide me to the car. I took a few steps, then remembered the Mind Stealer. "One more thing I have to do," I said. "Go back to the car. I'll be there in 1 second." I waited till they began walking to the car. The dummy's arms and legs dangled lifelessly as Dad carried it away. I was finally breathing normally. I felt so happy, so relieved. Slappy was gone, his mind erased. Now I just had to deal with the Mind Stealer doll. I dropped to my knees and stared at it through the cracked lid of the glass case. The dry black lips were curled in a smile. The empty eye sockets had opened wide. I forced myself to look away. Carefully, I lifted the case off the ground and lowered it into the hole. Then I began to shove dirt over it, pawing the dirt frantically with both hands. Breathing hard, I scooped dirt into the hole until the case was completely buried. Yes! The doll was buried deep under the dirt now, hidden where it could do no harm. I pulled myself to my feet and brushed the dirt off the knees of my jeans. My legs were trembling, my heart pounding. I took a deep breath, then I turned and started to walk away. I walked 3 or 4 steps, then I heard a voice. Slappy's voice. An ugly, crackling rasp, dry as dead leaves. Slappy calling to me from inside the buried doll. "I'll be back, Brittany. I'm a bad boy."